Why is nostalgia so important?
At this juncture in time, I think it's probably the only thing that kind of somewhat connects us to the real world, right? Like our experiences outside of shelter in place is our memories. So what about you?
You know, we think of nostalgia as something like comfortable,
Yeah.
as familiar, but there's also a line that says that nostalgia is a way to like distort the present suffering, right? Like it rejects our ability to deal with our present circumstances. So I'm curious to ask you, is nostalgia a warm blanket to you, or is nostalgia a blindfold to our present circumstances?
Ooh. And how far back would you consider nostalgia?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Of course, it's subjective from person to person.
Right.
But also in proportion to how long like you've been living.
This is true.
So like a person who's in middle school now, they're probably nostalgic over their like childhood days, like kindergarten days. And that's still nostalgia. Compared to like someone who's more of an adult, like us, older adults, we think of in proportion to our junior high and middle school days. But I still believe that you can be nostalgic of last year, which has been
like an eternity ago.
Exactly.
How many moments have you had where it takes you back, like you're listening to a song or you see something, and it takes you back to a distinct memory that you haven't thought about in so long, and it just makes you cringe? I know a few friends that have had this moment over the last couple of weeks where they just remember something stupid that they did. Maybe it was in front of a girl or a guy. And it just like, is cringeworthy, like, your hands and fingers. You're like, why does that memory come back now? But there are certain things that trigger it. Have you had any of those moments?
You just triggered me right now. Because, like, when you're isolated and when you're by yourself, you have nothing but your memories, good, bad, and the ugly. And those reoccurring moments and flashbacks happen frequently. More frequently than I'm afraid to admit. And it's just like my whole entire day, even though I'm alone, is a walking embarrassment still. It's like
just by yourself too, because you just keep replaying it in your head.
Oh,
it just doesn't go away.
You know how Sports Center has like a not top 10. I could do a not top 10 of like every single female interaction.
Oh God, yep.
Every like ministry failure, just a bumbling buffoon. And it happens. And rarely we think about our victories, right? Like the moments where it's like, dang, I feel really good about myself because of X, Y, and Z. It's always the negative nostalgia. Are there any last thoughts that you want to say about our radio show or nostalgia, or to anybody out there who's listening? The 5 people, like my mom and dad.
I think people should just understand the reason that we're doing this is because, one, we just want to have fun, you and I. But at the same time, I think it's also something that I think people could use in just having some voices talking in your house that you're used to. Like, I usually have a podcast that I listen to, or just some YouTube channels that I'll just have on, just like of talk shows, and just like hearing voices around the house that I'm used to. But those are all still, in terms of degree, like someone away from us, right? It's not someone that we personally know. So hopefully for whoever listens to this and watches us on Friday night, I think, or listens to us on Friday night too, I think it's just, hopefully we can give you some form of comfort. Just hearing some voices and faces that you're used to, haven't seen in a while, and that we can just reconnect in some form or fashion through that. I think that's the point of our radio night thing as a whole. This is our first one. Who knows if there will be another one, but if there is, that's still the main point of why we put this together. So, but what about for you?
That's not a bad description. The way that I would summarize it is that we want to be familiar white noise in your home. Familiar white noise.
You don't really need to listen to us.
Yeah. But coming from a single person who usually eats meals alone anyway, even pre-quarantine, I think it gets fairly quiet and lonely, and maybe watching Netflix or YouTube is just getting old. So how about you just turn on some familiar white noise so that we can be company for you. That's why we call it 7-Course Conversations. And it's meant to be listened to in passing while you eat dinner with your family, and come participate with us and just see two other really lonely and bored people want to interact with you. So yeah, I'm excited just to talk with you, Rob, to extend this conversation, and maybe to be a blanket or a blindfold in nostalgia.
Yeah. I mean, just to add on to that, to end, I guess I would say we have a lot of things planned. There's just a lot of things planned, and we're trying to implement something that can get you, and by you I mean anyone who's watching or listening to this, involved.
All five of them. My mom and dad.
And then my mom and dad. So there's just one other individual. There's one other individual. Yeah, I think we're just trying to do a lot of things that can get you involved and a part of the show, and a part of this radio night. So tune in. We will get you everything that you need to, but we'll be live on Twitch. We'll be live on YouTube, and we'll do it that way.
Let's see where this wild ride takes us.